Okay, and we are live. All right. Hello and shalom, everyone. This is Mayim Vega. Welcome to my podcast again. And today we're honored to welcome Lana Manikowski, a certified life coach, keynote speaker, and founder of the Others Day Brunch. Very interesting name. But after a 7-year fertility journey ended without a child, Lana recognized a need for a compassionate space where women could address the loneliness and grief of an unexpected childless life. She took action, launching the So Now What podcast and building her coaching practice to help women redefine purpose, meaning, and joy, even when life takes unexpected turns. At Arukah, we empower people to become holistic healers through our certification program, which integrates naturopathic herbalism, holistic life coaching, and business expertise to transform lives. Lana's mission aligns beautifully with our holistic approach to well-being and personal growth. So let's dive into her inspiring story and hear how she's helping women around the world rediscover fulfillment. Hello, Lana. Thank you so much for your time today.
So great being here. Thanks for including me in your mission.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think that what you're doing is very much needed in this world. Um, Also, I have a friend whose name is Lana, and her name is actually full name is Svetlana, and that's your full name too, right? She's
Yes.
also Russian, so that's really cool. Um,
Yeah, I'm
Anyways,
Serbian. She's Russian, I think.
okay, so
Yeah.
okay, you're Serbian, she's Russian, yeah. It's a beautiful name, by the way. Do you know what it means?
Like Celeste, kind of like the stars in the
Heavenly.
sky.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's even more beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, yeah, there are a lot of people who struggle with infertility and maybe even after just having one and they wanted more than one child. There can be a lot of grief and anxiety and things like that. But a lot of people don't know your story yet, of course, um, in my audience. So could you please first start off with that?
Sure. Well, I found out that I wasn't going to be able to have children when I turned 37. I got a diagnosis of something called unexplained infertility. And up until that time, I thought motherhood would just happen when I was ready to have it happen. I had always been really regular in my cycles and generally healthy, no conditions that would indicate I wouldn't have children. But after trying for a few years and not having ever gotten pregnant, I finally went to a reproductive endocrinologist and got that diagnosis of unexplained infertility. And this sense of panic just set in, because I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and I thought it would go in sync with my schedule. So it was about 7 years off and on of different treatments, everything from Reiki, energy work, Chinese medicine. I tried, and then from pharmaceutical type interventions, going through fertility treatments with reproductive endocrinologists. And at the end of the journey of 7 years, I never once was able to get pregnant, and decided that if I wasn't going to have a biological child of my own, I was going to remain childless. And there were zero resources that were offered to me
To
from any
support
of
you.
my medical, practitioners. So I had to figure it out alone. And it was a really hard journey to be in my mid 40s and figuring out that I was going to move forward without children.
Did you try in vitro fertilization?
I did. I tried intrauterine insemination, in vitro fertilization, and all the other, I'll put in air quotes, natural methods of trying to get pregnant, and nothing
Nothing worked.
yielded a child. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so I think you had said that you didn't want to adopt, right?
Yeah, we looked into adoption,
Oh, you did.
and yeah, that just wasn't the right. There was a lot of things that were unknowns as far as whether it was really going to happen, how long it was going to take. There's a lot more hindrances, or a lot more roadblocks, I should say, to adopting in my experience. Maybe it was the agencies we were looking through. And after all the heartache I had been through for 7 years, I just didn't know if I could emotionally put myself into this place of being disappointed once again. So we decided against adoption for those reasons.
Okay, I see. Yeah. What's really interesting is just yesterday, my daughter and her boyfriend had an argument or something because he asked her, oh man, I hope I don't have to cut this out of my podcast because it's really interesting. He asked her, telling his personal story about he asked her like if your partner was infertile, would you break up with him? And I think her answer was something like, if we weren't married yet and I found out, yes, because I really want a baby. But if we were married already, then no, because she wanted to honor the marriage vow. And he got upset, and he was really sad about that. And then he asked me my opinion, and I was like, we're Jewish. And I'm like, well, Jewish law allows it, for infertility. And he didn't like that answer. And so he went to ask my husband what his opinion was, or they did, or whatever. And my husband's like, yes, it's allowed, but that doesn't mean you have to do it, things like that. And she ended up changing her mind. She was like, okay, I changed my mind, because at least I have a good, if I end the relationship, there's no guarantee that I'll find a better relationship, so I would rather value, the relationship that I have now. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not really good at exact quotes, but so anyways, they worked it out. And then I said, you can always adopt, and I said, and my personal opinion is if you're going to adopt, unless you're doing it for charitable reasons, that's what's one thing, right? I think that if you're going to adopt a child that's in the foster system, I would say you have to do it for charitable reasons. You have to do it like out of the goodness of your heart. But if you want to do it for non-charitable reasons, like just for more personal reasons, that I believe you should adopt from a healthy family, that whose values aligned with yours to a certain degree, and who don't have any issues with drugs and things like that. And if you can't find that good match, then it's it might not fulfill what you really want, and it can be sad for both you and the child, if there's disappointment, if you're not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah, I think, and also too, just to clarify that a lot of women are, adoption's a beautiful option for many people, but when your body isn't able to produce a child, a lot of women are grieving the fact that they're not able to become biological mothers, because we just always thought our body was designed as females to reproduce. So even if you go on to adopt, there is grief that's aligned with your body, and sort of this disconnection from your body for not being able to produce a child. But yeah, and there's also a lot of grief, I think, as having been the female. There's two different types of fertility. It could be the male factor infertility. I had female factor infertility, so there was a sense of almost I guess I would say like disappointment that I let my husband down, because had he been with someone else or had he married someone else, he could have maybe become a dad. But because I was his wife and I couldn't bear children, I felt a lot of guilt that I took that from him as well. So it's
And
been a lot of work to work through that.
that was going to be one of my questions is, were you married, and are you still married? And
I am.
how did that affect your marriage?
Yeah. Well, we were married for 2 years before I got my diagnosis. So we entered the marriage just thinking that we start knocking out kids right away. And he was very supportive. I am very fortunate that he stood by me through everything, never once made me feel as though I had taken anything from him. We did make an agreement with each other that when we decided to pursue IVF and, the medical, pharmaceutical, I'll call it, route, just because a lot of that was not very much natural happening when you go through IVF and IUIs. But we agreed that we would only do things that we were both in agreement with as a couple. So at the end of our treatment, when we found out that I wasn't going to be able to have a biological child, we looked into the donor egg option, and my husband wasn't really on board with that. So I wasn't on board with it either. So there was no friction, I would say. I think we are in a very supportive, communicative marriage. So we just remembered that vow that we made to each other, that we would be on the same page with things and only do things that we were both in agreement for. So
That's great. That's beautiful.
And we're still married 15 years. We just celebrated 15 years this past June.
That's great. Congratulations. That's beautiful that, that he supported you, that you both had certain intentions before the marriage, and that you supported each other through the marriage, and that even now, after everything's happened, it sounds like you have a beautiful marriage. And I'm pretty sure that your marriage is so much stronger now that you've gone through all of these challenges together in your life.
Yes, it is. I think you really get to build character when you go through something like this that is so unexpected, and especially coming from a family where people had children so easily, and being from ethnic cultures that children are just basically like the root of everything in your culture. So being able to navigate through that and still be together definitely is something that I feel really fortunate about. And I know that I chose the right partner for my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's something else that I was talking to my daughter about yesterday is in Judaism, we see the first commandment as be fruitful and multiply, which, the normal interpretation of that is to have children, which, in that context, it certainly was. But also in Judaism, we say that adoption is also valid, but even beyond just adoption, just kind of like a spiritual adoption where you mentor people, and you help them through life and you guide them and you become this positive influence in someone's life and helping them through it, like a good parent should do, because a parent isn't just someone who births you. A parent is supposed to be someone who helps you achieve your best in life, and teachers partially fulfill that role as well. And so there are many ways. I think there's like pros and cons also. There's everyone knows the pros to having a child, but to not having a child, you have, a lot more energy and resources to do things that someone with, like me, I have like 7 children, of my own. My hands are tied in many ways of things that I might want to do because of that. Not that I don't love my children, but so there's good and bad to everything. Anyways, so you have a very interesting name for your program. It's called the Others Day Brunch. Please first tell us about the name, and then also why did you create it and who's it for?
Yeah, well, this is actually an in-person event that I host every year. The name of my coaching program is called Thrive After Infertility, but the Others Day Brunch is something that I founded for women who are feeling disconnection around Mother's Day. So it's the Saturday before Mother's Day here in the US. And it's for women who aren't moms, or women who have lost their mom, no longer have a living mom with them, or maybe have a disconnected relationship with a mom or a mother figure. So I host an event in Chicago. It's a brunch, and it's an opportunity to celebrate and come together and create unity around a time that might feel hard, for many reasons. So yeah, I started that. It'll be my 4th year hosting the brunch here in Chicago next year on May 10th, 2025. It's gotten national media attention the last 2 years. I've been on the national news talking about it because I think a lot of people think that Mother's Day is easy, and certainly it's not to take away from Mother's Day. That's the why I do it the day before.
Mm,
But it's an opportunity that, people who feel that disconnection around Mother's Day can come together and create new friendships and support system, and then move on Mother's Day to, connect and do what they need to do with their families.
I bet there's a lot of crying and healing at that event.
It's actually a very, when you hear me talk about it, you might think that, but
Okay.
when you get these women in a room, there's so much energy and connection that there's not really a lot of time for sadness. So that's what I love about it, is that it's a very uplifting event for women to attend, and it's up to them if they want to share with others why they're there. But it's not like a requirement that people talk about why they're there. And there's also guidelines for, not asking specific questions, being respectful of the fact that people may or may not want to talk about what it is that brought them there or drew them to the event. So yeah, it's become quite an uplifting opportunity to support women during a time that might feel really hard for them.
Wow, that's very interesting. Okay, great. So, I think this is a really good question. How does someone appropriately support friends and or family members who are navigating infertility?
That's I love that you're giving me an opportunity to talk about this, because I think that for the most part, people want to be able to be there for somebody who's going through something so unexpected. And from the work that I've done coaching, the clients that I work with who are childless after infertility, there's an awareness that our friends often want to fix us or diminish what we're feeling. So telling someone you can always adopt, or telling someone, well, at least you don't have to save for college for kids. So comments like that can be very
Mhm.
diminishing, and not creating awareness of the fact that women who are going through this are grieving. So I think it's really important to ask someone, like, how can I support you?
Mm.
What are the things that I can offer to you, or what would be helpful for you to experience, as your friend? What are some things that I can do? So I think it's never a bad reason, or never a bad place to ask someone what they're yearning for. Also, just checking in with someone without how are you doing, but maybe I'm thinking about you, or I love you. Something just very supportive, because women are trying really hard to become moms. And so telling someone, oh, I'm praying for you, may sound like a beautiful thing to say, but when you're on the side of going through treatment, you may question your faith sometimes, because you're like, oh, if all these people are praying for me, and I'm praying so hard and I'm as spiritual as I can possibly be, and it's not happening, it can often make you think, as the patient or the person going through this, that faith has forgotten you. So just, little things like that, a lot of people don't realize can be triggering to somebody going through it. So being upfront and asking, like, what does a supportive friend look like for you right now? Understanding that the common things of giving sympathy and telling someone I feel so sorry for you does not empower them as the person going through this. So that's why I think it's just really important to be direct with asking someone how you can be a supportive friend.
Okay. What about what I like to do when people are sad is um take them out, like, get some coffee, tea, chocolate, something, ice cream. Yeah. What do you think about something like
I
that?
think that's beautiful too. And sometimes make the plans and be like, hey, I made a reservation for us on Tuesday at 7, because when you're the person grieving or going through this, it's sometimes hard to really
Make
attach
those
to somebody's
decisions.
invitation. But if you're like, hey, we're doing this, like, I'm picking you up, or whatever, then I think that's like a really beautiful way to be a supportive friend. So I love that your thought process goes to that of like getting someone out of the house, getting them to do something is great. And just putting them in positions where they don't have to be the ones to make the plans.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah.
I'm glad that idea was approved.
Yeah. And then the same thing like with baby showers and kids' birthday parties. You know, sometimes that's a really hard thing for friends to attend. And if they hear that it's going on and not they're not invited, you know, sometimes excuse me, you'll have that where someone's like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings and invite them to something that I'm sure is hard for them. I would say like send the invite anyway, but maybe give them a call and be like, hey, I just wanted you to know if you have the capacity to attend, great. But if you can't make it, or if it's too much for you, I totally get it. But I just wanted to make sure you didn't think that it wasn't important to recognize what you're going through.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So another question I wanted to ask you is what is it like to receive an unexpected and life-changing medical diagnosis like unexplained fertility? And what is unexplained infertility?
Yeah. Well, it's for somebody who was used to being very goal oriented and somebody who was used to being able to achieve the things that she wanted to achieve in her life, to get this life-changing medical diagnosis really took me to a level of desperation in my life that I never had experienced before. Especially getting something called unexplained infertility as a medical diagnosis, you're kind of like, well, what does that mean about me that I don't even have medical terminology to explain what I have? So it's very depleting to be someone who sees themselves, and the medical community sees you as unexplainable. And it really can affect like your self-confidence and the way that you view yourself as a woman when you have this body that didn't show up for you the way that you thought it was going to your whole life. So it's a very I wish the terminology would change, because to even hear that word, I'm curious, you know, from your perspective, when you hear that as a diagnosis, like, is it surprising to you that that's how someone would classify you as a patient?
I think that name for that condition is super honest.
Yeah. Because
It's
it basically means that you don't have any medical condition that would indicate that you cannot have that you can't reproduce. So there's no PCOS, there's no endometriosis, there's no autoimmune disease that would then link back to infertility. So that's kind of where the rest of us.
there's no hormonal imbalances, and the egg quality or quantity were also good, right?
Well, the good enough that they agreed to move forward with treatment. So there was like levels of testing that was done before that. Because not all fertility clinics will bring a patient on if they know that your hormone levels are so low that you won't respond. Not all clinics are that way, unfortunately, but luckily the ones I went to had, you know, a level of integrity that they knew that they didn't want to bring women in and just put them through the ringer of fertility treatments if they weren't going to yield an outcome that they thought would at least be successful in having a child. So at the same time, I was in my late 30s. So I'm certain I had ovarian, you know, a diminished ovarian reserve, having been that age. So the success rates become less and less, you know, obviously the older that you get, but still I classified in that unexplained infertility category.
And I mean, I also believe that, and it happens where women are infertile for many, many years and for no reason, even, and, you know, unsuccessfully go through a lot of fertility treatments, but then after many, many years, they just get pregnant for no explainable reason. So there's also, just like there's unexplained infertility, there's also unexplained, you know,
pregnancy.
See, yeah, unexplained, seemingly miraculous births. So, and when that happens, I just feel like, everything is meant to be, and that I do believe I am a very deeply religious person that fertility or not infertility, like, God has you, and you can walk in the fullness of your life with or without a child. So that's one of the reasons why I like what you're doing. So we already talked about how infertility is not always a female problem, although back in the old days they did blame it only on women in a lot of cultures. But what about navigating infertility in the workplace? Were you working through all this? I'm assuming you were, right?
I was, yes. And there's very little acknowledgement of the time and the unexpected schedule that comes along with going through fertility treatments. So oftentimes you don't know until a day or two before that you're going to need to be at a doctor's appointment or have some, sort of intervention take place. So it was very hard in the workplace, well, to even have that conversation because it's, talking about infertility seems to still be taboo in many places. And so coming to a manager and telling your manager that you're going through fertility treatments, oftentimes in the corporate workplace, might indicate that you're not committed to your job if you are growing your family, that you won't be available to be a leader in an organization if you're going to leave on maternity leave and there's, these job openings and promotion opportunities. I saw myself not going for those opportunities because I thought, well, gosh, I don't know where I'm going to be. Will I be out on maternity leave and I'm taking this, new role on? But B, are the people in my organization going to look at me as somebody that they want as a leader if I can't 100% commit as an employee who's available 24/7? So that could be different. Like maybe your listeners work in an environment that it's more established, that motherhood and growing your family and the path to pregnancy and childbearing is a lot more accepted. But unfortunately, the organization I worked in, it was very competitive and you had to be on 24/7. And so I found myself shying away from going after the big roles and promotions. And then when my 7-year journey through fertility treatments ended, I felt like everyone had moved up in the ladder except for me because I was, still holding myself back and focusing on creating a child. So, and a lot of times in the workplace too, people that don't have kids are oftentimes assumed to be the ones to work the weekends if there's a conference on the weekends or if there's a late, something going on, because people have kids and they want to go home and take their kids to sports, or they have tutoring or whatever the case may be. So oftentimes women without children in the workplace maybe assume that role themselves, because we don't want to look like the bad colleague who wants to leave at whatever time as well. So we often volunteer when someone's on maternity leave or on some sort of medical leave to be the ones to pick up the extra work, because it's assumed that we don't have something to go home to as important as parenthood.
Yeah, sorry, I want to get a little political now and just say I do believe this is the real reason why there is the inequality of wages in America. It's not simply because of our gender, but everything that comes along with that. Wanting to have children and taking that time off, and that's just not respected like it is in Europe. When I was in the corporate world, there was we had a person on our team who worked in Europe, and I guess in Europe it seemed like that men had to take paternity leave too. They didn't have to, I guess, but if they didn't, like, society looked down on them. And so that helps, women as well when you make those kinds of rules. Um, but also I wanted to say that that's a reason why I really believe in entrepreneurship. especially for women. That is what has empowered me to homeschool my 7 children and also make more money than I did when I was a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center. And yes, I couldn't work regular work hours, but I could work when I could. And also, I think we also, as women, we have to. So I'm Jewish, and there's a passage that we read from the Bible every Friday night that my husband reads. To me, it's from Proverbs chapter 31. It talks about the woman of valor, and this biblical woman. I don't. And sorry, I'm not sure. What's your religious background?
I'm Eastern Orthodox, so
Okay.
Christian Orthodox,
Okay, you're
but
Christian Orthodox.
very familiar with the Jewish. I have a lot of Jewish friends, so I love your faith too. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of times people in the religious world they're like, oh yeah, women should be at home and all these things. But if we look at Proverbs chapter 31, it says the woman of valor, she has children, she has maids, she buys real estate, she, creates things and sells them on the market. So she's an entrepreneur, she's an investor, she has children, she has maids, and that like why isn't that being taught in religious circles that we can rise in our own kingdom, and actually as an entrepreneur I was part of the corporate world. I was serving various corporations in marketing and online business development and things like that. And um so I know it's kind of off topic, but
No, I love that. And that's the thing. Like I don't think anyone's time is more important than anyone else's. I think that there is an equality, whether you're male or female, and what you do when you leave work and who you go home to nurture and spend your time with is, I think it should all be equal. But I think there's oftentimes in the corporate world, management sees those without kids as their time as less flex or more flexible and less valued. And you don't want to be the person to speak up and say, well, I actually have stuff going on too, even though I don't have children at home to raise. So I think that it's more of an opportunity for women to use their voice and advocate for what they need and what's important to them outside of the workplace.
yeah. And as much as I didn't like the whole everything that happened with COVID, something that I do like about it is that it has opened up a lot of avenues for people, including women, to work from home, and so that's also very helpful.
Yeah. I just
Uh,
quit my job of 20 years in the corporate space in July to do my coaching work full time.
oh wow,
So yeah, like you said, being an entrepreneur, I can do so much more, and especially much more joyously because I'm doing what it is that I fully believe in and the things that I feel called to do, even though my life turned out so differently than I thought it was going to.
yeah. And sorry, one more thing I wanted to mention
Yeah.
about Judaism. I talk about Judaism a lot, but there's this teaching that the hardships and the trials that you go through, that your tikkun can be tikkun olam. It's this idea of repairing the world, healing the world, and that when you go through a hard time like you did, then your tikkun is helping others through that hard time. And that's exactly what you do. So it's so
Yeah,
beautiful
I love that.
about your business. Okay, I
Thank you.
wanted to end with one more question. I know that you make a distinction between childless versus child free. That sounds very interesting. Can you explain
Yeah.
what the difference is?
Well, many women who wanted to be moms and did not become moms either because they didn't find a partner that they wanted to procreate with, have some sort of medical condition, like me, went through fertility treatments and were not, did not become a mom. We often identify as childless, so indicating that we wanted to be moms and we're not. And then child free is usually somebody who has chosen that path knowingly. And there's a distinction, and a lot of times now in the media, people hear about the word childless much more often, because I think more women are standing up and indicating that they wanted to be moms, they went through fertility treatments. So it's something that a lot of people will see in the media, like someone who was childless usually means that life didn't turn out in the path that you thought it was going to with children, versus child-free is like a known distinction of like, I chose not to be a mom, or biological mom, I should say.
Right. And it really is choice, because like you said, you chose not to adopt. You chose not to, do certain things. And I like that distinction, and just using the word free versus less. It's a slight difference, but it makes a lot of difference. It can be very empowering to a woman to understand that she's not less just because she doesn't have a child.
Yeah.
But she is.
And sometimes it's like a graduation. Like I'll meet people that are early on into discovering that they're not going to be a biological mom, and they call themselves childless. And then over time, as they start to feel more connected to and settled in their lives without children, they sort of graduate to this child-free title. So there's, for some, those of us in the community that kind of know the distinctions, you'll kind of see someone transition, and it's sort of this graduation into a life that they feel like they're finally in ownership of, even though it's different than they thought.
Yeah. And I think also on the part of people who do have children, to not feel bad about themselves also, if people use the term child free, and not think, oh, well, I'm not free then. Like, let's not go back and forth. Let each person be empowered with describing themselves as they choose to see fit.
Yeah. And that's what this journey has really opened my eyes to, in like many different things, with religion, with gender, with, so many things that I think sexual orientation, there's not a one way fits all. And I feel like it's allowed me to just open up and be appreciative of other people's paths that have gotten them somewhere, that it's not my place to judge. It might not be the way that my compass is set, but it's also not my place to judge how other people move forward in their lives, because you just never know what someone has gone through.
Right. There's only one true judge. So this is your website, Lana Manikowski.com, and I'll put the link to it. So we've got this freebie right here. Can you tell me about this?
Yeah, so it's called the top 27 things people say when you're childless. And you and I covered off on this a little bit in the beginning about, things that people commonly say. And it's an opportunity to just build some awareness about what might resonate with people, what might not resonate. Also, for those that are listening who don't have kids and they felt caught off guard with some of the comments that people have made, there's options on this handout also of ways to respond to people. So when someone says, how many kids do you have? And you have no kids, how can you respond in a way that's authentic to you and represents your story and makes you feel as though you're not invisible because you don't have stories about your kids to add to the commentary? So it's a really great resource, and it was built upon this people that I work with in my coaching community. We've kind of gone through together and created this collective tool for everyone. So it's free at lanamanikowski.com or lanamanikowski.com/things people say.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe you could make another one of like what to say or not say, for us.
And then you can see there, Thrive After Infertility is the coaching program that I created, because a lot of women leave treatments and there's no support from their providers on like, what do you do when you thought you were always going to be a mom? So I'm filling that void and creating a community so other women can meet other women who also don't have kids. So it's a small group, 12-week coaching program where we focus on how to forgive your body for not being able to do what you thought it was going to do, how to figure out what you're going to do with your rest of your hours and days and years ahead, because you always thought you were just going to follow the path of motherhood and, be there as a mom and follow the milestones of your kids. And then the third part of my coaching program is relationships. So we talked about a little bit earlier on about, the spousal relationship, like how do you move forward as a couple that feels connected, even though you don't have kids, how to keep relationships going with your friends with kids, because it can be really lonely to be the only one in your friend group without kids. And then in the workplace, like how to maintain your relationships in the workplace. And the coaching program is basically built on those 3 pillars.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for creating this program.
Yes.
So the website is where they can learn more about that. What about the event that we talked about in the beginning?
Yeah, the Others Day brunch, it's on the website as well.
Right here, Others Day.
Right, Others Day. Yep. So it's an in-person event here in Chicago. It's a brunch. So I have a professionally catered, there's mimosas, there's, something for everyone, food options, the whole nine. So that's our picture last year. So you can see it's a very diverse group. And I think that's the thing about many women who suffer from infertility. It's doesn't matter your ethnicity. It's common that a lot of women, regardless of ethnicity and background, are dealing with infertility. So there's hotel deals and restaurants and all kinds of good stuff you can find at the Others Day.
That's awesome. Okay. That sounds like a lot of fun. And we've also got I know you've got a podcast here.
Yes.
Called the
Yep.
So Now What podcast. I think that's
Yes.
a really helpful resource.
Yes,
and you are on Instagram, Lana Manikowski. And on your YouTube channel, do you just upload your podcast to that, or?
Yeah, I upload the podcast, and then there's some digital assets that are not different from the podcast that are just kind of ways to help move forward in this unexpected life. So that's also Lana Manikowski on YouTube.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking this time and sharing your journey and sharing how you help people. And before we close, do you have just any final thoughts or words to say?
Yeah, well, first I want to thank you for creating this space for people. I think it's so needed. And, just to let people know that even if life turns out differently than you thought, that there's always a pathway to move forward. And judging yourself and beating yourself up, even though you tried everything that you possibly could to have what it was you wanted in life, it doesn't always have to keep you held back. So I think that's really my main message and what I try to impart in my community as well.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Lana.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Algar and I am the host of Expertise TV, and I'm very excited to be introducing you to our guest today, Mayim Vega. Now, Mayim Vega is a former NASA computer scientist turned holistic healer after facing a very personal health crisis, which the modern medical system could not resolve. In 2009, she founded Arukah.com, which offers an holistic healer certification program focusing on 3 pillars: naturopathic herbalism, holistic life coaching, and online business and marketing to empower people to become holistic healers and achieve maximum impact in the world. Mayim combines her scientific background, natural healing methods, and faith in the creator and great physician to guide others on a path to personal and professional well-being. Mayim, it's clear that you are very passionate about the topic of holistic health and particularly helping people who are wanting to transition into this approach. How did you find yourself in this line of work, and why is this work so important to you?
Thank you, Ashley, for taking the time to speak with me. And I'd love to answer that question. So, the way I found myself in this line of work starts with my story of when I transitioned from becoming a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center to becoming an entrepreneur and building my first online business in digital marketing. And the reason why I did that is so that I could stay at home and be with my newly born son at the time. And now I have 7 children of my own, and I always wanted to homeschool them and just be there for them. And so that's why I became an entrepreneur. But my first, my first few years as an entrepreneur was extremely difficult. And I thought it was healthy, but later on, after all my studies, I realized there were a lot of things that I was doing that was not very healthy. They were not very healthy habits that I had. And what ended up happening was I got really sick and I thought I was on my deathbed. And I was rushed to the emergency room. And the doctor actually thought that I had a brain tumor. But after extensive testing and examination, she told me that there was nothing wrong with me. I just, I was experiencing a lot of pain, but they had nothing for me. There was nothing they could do for me. She said that she could give me some really strong painkillers, but that's really it. She couldn't really get rid of the problem. And so I took the painkillers, but again, painkillers and any pharmaceutical drug never address the root cause of illness and disease. And that's exactly why this line of work is so important to me and why I went on my own personal journey to become a holistic healer, to study nutrition, herbalism, holistic health, and holistic life coaching, is because we all know people, and maybe probably even ourselves, who, just like me, went to the modern medical system because that's the expected thing to do. That's a normal thing to do. And, tried to get health and healing that way, but hit a dead end, hit a brick wall, and we either got medications that didn't work or that only worked for a while, or that caused side effects that were so terrible that we had to get on other medications, plural, and maybe even the medication or medications caused side effects that caused other health issues. And sometimes the health issues are worse than the first problem that you originally had. And we're on this ridiculous roller coaster of drug after drug, after treatment, after procedure, because the modern medical system never addresses the root cause. And medical professionals who have woken up know this. And that's why I have medical professionals in my program, including, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, medical technicians, etc., who are learning from me, who are, taking the certification program because they realize that our system is broken and we need to fix it. It is our destiny as humanity to overcome all this nonsense, really. We can do better and we will do better. I know it. And that's why, in my certification program, sometimes I joke around. No, it's not really a joke, but I say, I'm empowering not just holistic healers, but holistic warriors. We're in a battle. We're in a battle over our own health and healing to safeguard and protect that, and that of our families and friends and community, of course, as well. And we're also in a battle against very powerful people who, because of profits, like to suppress holistic health and healing truths to keep us just sick enough so that we need something, pharmaceuticals, but not well enough to ever get off them. That is truly the goal of big pharma, of the pharmaceutical industry. It's not true. They don't want to heal us. They don't want to cure us. They want to keep us just sick enough so that we keep giving them our money. And you know what? Me personally, I have better things to spend with my money, like on good food, clean herbs, things that don't cause these ridiculous side effects that we experience with pharmaceutical drugs.
Thank you, Mayim. So that brings me to my next question. What are some of the key benefits of transitioning from the conventional healing approach to a holistic approach in health and healing?
Okay, so that's another really great and important question. The key benefits of transitioning from conventional healing to a holistic approach are right now, I can think of three main reasons. Number one, the holistic approach is safer. Number two, the holistic approach is more effective. And number three, the holistic approach is the true approach that gets to the root cause. Okay. Now, I'd like to illustrate the first point, the safety of holistic medicine. If someone who was taking some, let's say blood pressure medication or something like that, visited me at my house, let's say I invited them over for dinner, and let's say they had to take some of their medicine and they dropped one of their pills, right, in my dining room or in my living room floor. Now, I have very small children. I have a 4-year-old. And what if my 4-year-old found that pill on the floor and thought it was candy or something like that and put it in her mouth and ate it? What would happen? I would immediately have to call the poison control center to get that pill out of her system, because those pills can have deadly side effects. But what if someone dropped a vitamin C pill or a tincture, and one of my children found it? For the most part, if they found it and took it, they might have a little diarrhea. It might be really spicy on their tongue, and so they would stop taking it. But no, I wouldn't have to control the poison control center, because vitamins and herbs and minerals are extremely, like 1,000 times safer than pharmaceutical drugs. There's a few types of, supplements that you might have to call the poison control center, but for the most part, no, you won't have to do that, because our body knows how to work with those substances. It is not a drug. It is a healing tool. Okay. So completely safe. Also, exercise, diet, those are all safe, right? Sleep, those are all part of holistic health and healing. Completely safe, zero side effects. Now, let's talk about the effectiveness. The holistic approach is more effective. And the reason why we know this is because in my practice, and this is the experience of many holistic healers, when it comes to the conventional ways with the pharmaceutical drugs, as I said before, they don't deal with the root cause. They just mask symptoms. So, you might take a cough suppressant, let's say, for example, but if you are not dealing with the root cause, why are you coughing in the first place? Why do you have allergies? Why do you have the flu, etc.? Why is your immune system not strong enough to overcome this in just a few hours or just a day or two, overnight? Why? Because you have not built up your immune system. You haven't boosted it or lived the kind of life that you need to in order to avoid those common illnesses altogether. I have one of my students is a medical doctor, and she said that she used to take anti-allergy drugs every single week because of her allergies. The allergy drugs don't boost your immune system. They just suppress it. They just oppress your allergy symptoms. But when you have allergy symptoms, it's your body talking to you and telling you, hey, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this thing that you're eating or this environment that you've just stepped into because of my state of being. I'm not strong enough. That's what your immune system is saying to you. But I taught her a really powerful vitamin protocol that actually boosts your immune system so that your immune system is strong enough to overcome allergies. And so that's the difference. It is effective because it is true. It is true holistic health and healing because it strengthens your immune system. It doesn't silence it, like I said before. And the third issue is the root cause. Holistic health and healing deals with the root cause, and the conventional approach of drugs and surgery, etc., does not. That doesn't mean that you sometimes don't need surgery, for example, or in an emergency situation need a drug. but you're not dealing with the root cause. And if you deal with the root cause, you can make your problems either go away or become extremely minimal, safely, effectively, and naturally without poisoning your body and causing the roller coaster of side effects.
Mayim, you have developed an incredible program that you've already mentioned called the Arukah Holistic Healer Certification Program, which you have specifically created for those looking to either transition into the holistic approach or for those who are wanting to grow in their knowledge and practice. Can you talk us through what differentiates this program from other similar programs that are currently out there?
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, the certification program at arukah.com is really, truly incredible. And there's a few things that set it apart, actually, many things, but I'd like to focus on a few. And one of them is that when I designed the program, I designed it for someone who was in my situation many years ago, someone who was a busy mom who had a lot of work to do and a lot of things on her plate, but still wanted to empower herself with the knowledge of holistic health and healing for herself, for her family, so she could take care of her family, and maybe even build a career where very specifically she could stay at home and just like me, be a stay-at-home mom. And even a homeschool mom. I've been a homeschool mom. My oldest is 20 now, and I homeschooled him the whole way. And he's already graduated college, and he's got a computer science degree. And he's an entrepreneur himself. I instilled that dream in him. So being able to, I was able to surpass my income at NASA. And still homeschool my children. It's pretty awesome achievement. And so I wanted to empower people in my program to do exactly the same as I've done, to become a holistic healer, to have a successful online business so that they can have time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, meaning that there's no glass ceiling. No one who you need to get a raise from. You just have to help people. That's how I get paid, is when I help people, right? And so that's one of the advantages. Another advantage is it's very hands-on and apprenticeship based. And you could go to a college to study to become a naturopathic doctor or another holistic professional like a chiropractor. But it's going to take a lot more money and a lot more time as well. This program can be completed in 1 year, but because all of my students pretty much are busy professionals already, or busy moms, it's self-paced. So if you have a lot of things on your plate, it's okay. It's still going to be there for you. There's not like a time limit. You're not going to, your grade's not going to be lowered because you submit an assignment late or anything like that. It's self-paced. And so I've designed it for the busy mom or the working woman. And another thing that sets it apart is we have three core pillars in our program. One is that our students study naturopathic herbalism. And that takes up the bulk of our program. And naturopathic herbalism includes studying the foundations of holistic health and healing, identifying toxins and detoxification, also nutrition and orthomolecular nutrition or megadose vitamin therapy, as well as herbalism, which includes also homeopathy and aromatherapy with essential oils. And also they study Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. But it's mostly focused on Western medicine, Western herbalism, excuse me. And then the next core pillar, the second one, is holistic life coaching. And the reason why holistic life coaching is part of the program is to incorporate the mind spirit aspect of it, right? If herbs and supplements are the alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. Well, holistic life coaching is like the holistic alternative to psychiatry. It deals with the mind and the spirit, and spirit has to be part of it because we are spiritual beings. We're not just physical beings, we're also spiritual beings. Now, a lot of holistic health and healing schools are based on different religions, New Age, or other pagan religions. And this program, because I'm Jewish, is based on the Creator. It's based on the Bible and biblical principles, Judeo-Christian principles. And so, therefore, I have a lot of people who are of that faith persuasion. Jews, Christians, or people who maybe they don't really identify as Jewish or Christian, but they're open to it, or they grew up in that faith, and they don't necessarily want all the new age spirituality. They want the kind of spirituality that they are comfortable with and used to. So that's another thing that sets us apart. And life coaching is all about mindset and how to have healthy relationships with yourself, with others. Of course, also, with food and your body and lifestyle. Holistic life coaching encompasses all of that. And it's a very important part of holistic health and healing, especially because stress is often the root cause of many illnesses, common illnesses, and also chronic diseases. So, that mind and spirit aspect is very important. And the third aspect is online business marketing. And again, the reason why that's important is because, as I told you, I really want my students to thrive and to be able to, have that time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, which an online business provides. But also because, there's not a lot of jobs for herbalists, or life coaches even. And so we really have to be entrepreneurial. And it's very, very rewarding. And because of my background, with my digital marketing business, my first business, I can really help people in that department.
Thanks so much, Mayim. So I love the power of testimony and hearing people's personal experiences or journeys. Can you share some of the success stories that might be coming to mind or testimonials from past students?
Yes, we certainly have a lot of success stories and testimonials, and we'll show some of those testimonials at the end of our talk today in this video. But I could talk about a few of them that are maybe recent. One of them is one of my students. She told me that she wanted to become a nutritionist, but I guess her life's journey didn't really allow for that. So when she heard about my program, my certification program, when it first launched, she joined, and she really wanted to help her husband, who had been suffering from colitis under the care of doctors for about 20 years, ever since he was in the military. And he was going from medication to medication and, suffering with diarrhea and insomnia and restless legs and indigestion and, all these terrible things that colitis can cause. And so I actually created a custom module for her to help her husband with that. And in 2 months, she helped her husband get off the medication and heal from colitis using food and herbs and natural holistic healing methods. So that was a great accomplishment for her. And, I get people, contacting me saying that I helped them grow their hair back, or actually someone said, oh, you helped save save a little girl's life, just beautiful, wonderful things like that. You helped me heal my daughter, you helped me grow, regrow my teeth so I don't have pain from cavities anymore, like just all these wonderful testimonies. And that's the reason why I love doing what I do. And, and you will too, if you join the program. It's so rewarding and fulfilling to understand and to know that you are helping people, truly helping people, in ways that they can't get in the modern medical system. It's so rewarding.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mayim. I can only imagine the sense of reward when people start applying these principles to their lives and actually see a change and transformation. And for somebody as passionate as you are around this topic, to witness that and to be a part of that, I imagine that the reward is priceless. So another common question that arises is, once someone completes the program, what are some of the practical steps one would take in order to start a successful career in holistic health?
Okay, that's a great question. And that's actually what the third pillar of our program is all about, is, what do you do? Practical steps and what you would do to start a successful career in holistic health. And in that program, we teach our students how to create a high ticket transformational health coaching program that really helps people deal with a serious a problem, a serious health issue. And that doesn't mean that it's a deadly, problem, but it can be something that really affects their life, right? Even skin disorders can really affect your life, right? Even though it's not necessarily deadly. Weight loss could be something that is dealing with a serious issue. There's so many different types of health coaching programs that one can make, anxiety, depression, hormonal issues, etc. So they build, it's part of the program. They will do this while they're still in the program, and we'll support them the whole way, is to build that first high ticket health coaching program, and then set up their online assets, such as their website, their social media, a video sales letter, press releases, podcasts, all those things that online entrepreneurs need in order to connect with people, get their message of health and healing out there, and build and grow and scale their business.
Thank you so much, Mayim. It's been so great talking with you today. But before we close, for those that would like to get started on the journey to becoming an holistic healer and wanting to learn a little bit more about the certification program, how do they go about contacting you?
Yes, it's been wonderful talking to you today as well. And for all those who would like to get started on their journey to become a holistic healer and learn more about the certification program, all they need to do is visit the website, www.arukah.com, ARUKAH.com, and dig into that and schedule a discovery call. And I would love to be your mentor, your health coach, your teacher in guiding you to become a holistic healer, to become the healer of your home and your family and your community, and to help you build a profitable online health coaching business.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Mayim. So there we have it, folks. If you are ready to move forward in your own journey of becoming a holistic healer, then you can visit the website at www.arukah.com, where you can schedule your first discovery call. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.